What unfolds when a CEO discovers that the trusted managers running his company might be the root of its collapse? Ethan Carter fidgeted in the back seat of the Uber as it rolled up to the third garage on his list. He owned 8 auto repair shops across the state, a business passed down from his father 5 years prior. Initially, operations ran smoothly, garages buzzed with activity, employees seemed content, and customers returned regularly. But recently, Ethan had been fielding complaints: excessive wait times, subpar repairs, and rude service. The district manager, Greg, always had a justification: staff shortages, supply chain delays, or overly demanding customers. Ethan wasn't convinced anymore. He decided to go incognito, unannounced, posing as an ordinary job seeker. He grew a scruffy beard, pulled a baseball cap low over his eyes, and wore grease-stained jeans with a worn hoodie. Using the alias Sam, he ensured no employee would recognize him. Most had never met him in person, only glimpsing his father's portrait in the break rooms or skimming the rare corporate email. The garages were scattered, and this one, Garage 3, was supposedly a top performer. Greg had described it as running like clockwork. Ethan stepped out of the car, took a steadying breath, and approached the office. Inside, the manager, a tall man in his 40s with thinning hair and a belly straining his polo shirt, barely looked up from his phone. "You the new guy?" he asked, voice flat. "Yeah, Sam," Ethan replied. The manager gestured vaguely. "Grab a shirt from that box, shadow one of the techs. Don't mess up. No introduction, no paperwork, no safety rundown." Ethan picked a crumpled work shirt from the pile and changed in a dingy, cramped bathroom. Stepping into the garage, he was hit by the sharp scent of burnt rubber and oil. The place was chaotic, cars crammed every bay, customers pacing in the waiting area, mechanics hustling, sweat soaking their uniforms. A young woman with dark hair tied in a messy ponytail caught his attention. She was wrestling a rusted bolt under a sedan's hood, her knuckles scraped and raw, tools strewn around her. "Hey," Ethan said, approaching. "Can I lend a hand?" She glanced up, wiping sweat from her brow. "You're the new guy, Sam, right? I'm Lena Vasquez. Hold this light." As he aimed the flashlight, Ethan noticed her tools were in rough shape, wrenches warped, sockets cracked, a ratchet patched with duct tape. "Aren't these tools risky to use?" he asked quietly. Lena gave a weary chuckle. "Tell that to management. I've requested replacements for months. They just say deal with it." Ethan watched her hands shake slightly as she tightened a bolt with a cracked socket. One slip could gash her hand. Anger surged within him. His father had founded this business on caring for its workers. How had it deteriorated so badly? Before he could probe further, a loud voice cut through the garage. "Lena, hurry up. That car's been there an hour." It was the manager, storming over, face flushed. "And you," he barked at Ethan. "Don't just stand there. Clean that bay." Lena muttered under her breath and resumed work. Ethan swallowed his words, picking up scattered tools. Over the next few hours, he saw more. Mechanics working gloveless because the supply closet was bare, a customer berated for seeking an update, a young tech named Dylan, barely 19, reprimanded for taking a water break. The garage wasn't just struggling, it was dysfunctional. Not from a lack of staff, but from workers who were overworked, under-equipped, and poorly led. By day's end, Ethan's back ached from scrubbing oil off the floor, his hands black with grime. In the break room, he sat across from Lena as she devoured a sandwich. "You enjoy working here?" he asked cautiously. Lena shrugged. "I love fixing cars. Hate the rest. But I need the money, saving for tech school." Ethan nodded, a pang of guilt tightening his chest. He leaned back, staring at a cracked ceiling tile. He wasn't just angry. He felt responsible. He'd entrusted the wrong people, allowing this mess to fester. Tomorrow, he vowed, he'd dig deeper. He wouldn't leave until he knew who was sabotaging his company and who was holding it together. The next morning, Ethan arrived early, the sky still a faint purple, mist clinging to the cracked pavement. Leaning against the building, he sipped bitter coffee from a styrofoam cup bought at a nearby gas station. The garage door groaned open minutes later, and Lena hobbled in, her step uneven. "You okay?" Ethan asked, tossing his cup into a battered trash can. "Twisted my ankle yesterday," Lena mumbled, dropping her backpack on a splintered bench. "No time to rest, gotta keep going." Ethan didn't push. He followed her inside, the fluorescent lights flickering on dimly. As he punched in on the outdated time clock, Greg's voice boomed from the office. "Sam, get in here." Ethan entered, heart pounding. Greg leaned against the desk, arms crossed, a gold chain glinting over his shirt, the room thick with his cologne. "Listen," Greg said, voice low. "Inspections are next week. See anything off, you keep quiet, got it?" "Sure," Ethan said, choosing his words carefully. Greg jabbed a finger into his chest. "You're lucky to have this job. Don't screw it up." Ethan nodded once, jaw tight, and left. The day ramped up quickly. Lena was already under a lifted truck, ratchet in hand. Dylan cleaned a nearby bay, eyes heavy from exhaustion. Another tech, Nate, a stocky man, leaned against a tool cabinet, scrolling his phone while a customer tapped impatiently at the front counter. "Hey, Nate," Ethan said. "Customer's waiting." Nate didn't look up. "Not my job, front desk's problem." The receptionist, a nervous woman with heavy eyeliner, was nowhere in sight. Ethan hesitated, then wiped his hands and approached the counter. "Hey," he said to the waiting man. "Someone will be with you soon." "What's the issue?" "My wife's car was supposed to be ready yesterday," the man said sharply. "No one's answering the phone. I drove 40 minutes. "I'll check," Ethan said. He found Lena tightening a belt under a hood. "Know anything about a Ford Escape waiting on a belt?" "Yeah, it's done," Lena said, wiping her hands on a rag. Nate was supposed to call the customer yesterday. Ethan's stomach churned. He confronted Nate. "The Ford Escape's finished. Why no call?" Nate shrugged. "Wasn't my shift." Ethan stared, disbelief mixing with fury. Nate pocketed his phone and wandered to the vending machine. By noon, the garage was a mess. Oil spills ignored, customers waiting hours without updates. Nate vanished for long stretches. Dylan dropped a brake caliper, hands trembling from hunger. He'd skipped breakfast and lunch. Lena pushed through, her limp worsening, refusing to rest. Ethan caught her leaning against the stockroom wall, breathing heavily. "You need a break," he said. "Can't," Lena rasped. "If I fall behind, they cut my hours." Ethan's fists clenched. The breaking point came mid-afternoon. A woman in her 60s brought her worn minivan for a tire rotation. After waiting over 2 hours, she approached Greg, who was near the office, pretending to review paperwork. She asked if someone could check her car. Greg glanced at her, rolled his eyes, and said loudly, "Maybe if you didn't drive that junk heap, you wouldn't need so much work." The woman's face fell. She hurried toward the exit, head bowed. Ethan's blood ran cold. He stepped forward, voice calm but firm. "That's not how you treat customers." Greg turned, his smile venomous. "Got a problem, Sam?" "Yeah," Ethan said, yanking off his work shirt and tossing it to the floor. "I do." The garage went silent. Tools stilled, conversations halted. "I'm Ethan Carter," he said, voice ringing off the concrete. "I own this company." Lena's wrench clattered to the floor. Dylan stared, mouth open. Nate dropped his candy bar. Greg's face paled, then reddened with rage. "You're lying," Greg spat. Ethan pulled his wallet, flashing his ID for all to see. I built this with my dad. I trusted people to run it right. And what I see here, he said, gesturing to the filthy, broken garage, is not what we're about. Greg opened his mouth, but Ethan cut him off. You're done. Pack up. You're fired, effective now. Greg's face contorted, but he stormed into the office, slamming the door so hard the windows shook. Ethan turned to Nate. You too. This isn't a place for those who disrespect customers or the team. Nate's jaw dropped, but he grabbed his jacket and left without a word. The garage felt eerily still. The workers stared, uncertain. You all deserve better, Ethan said, softer now. Starting today, you'll get it. He pointed to Lena. You're off for the day, paid. Lena's mouth parted, speechless. Dylan, Ethan continued. Grab lunch on the company. Take your time. Dylan's eyes welled up. He wiped them with his sleeve. I'm bringing in a temporary manager tomorrow, Ethan said. Someone I trust. Until then, we're closing early. Everyone's paid for a full shift. Murmurs of relief and disbelief spread. Ethan stepped outside into the fading sunlight, dialing his assistant. Call HR. We need a full audit of every location and a new regional manager. He glanced back at the garage. Lena helped Dylan gather tools, both moving slowly but with purpose. Ethan knew this was just the start. Fixing this would take time, effort, and tough decisions. But for the first time in years, he felt back in control. The next morning, Ethan arrived before dawn, parking his rented truck across the street. The garage sat quiet, its neon sign flickering faintly against the gray sky. A cold drizzle darkened the cracked pavement. Ethan pulled up his hood, watching as a white sedan pulled into the lot. A woman stepped out, balancing a box on her hip. She wore crisp slacks, a dark blazer, and a no-nonsense expression. Clara Mendez, a seasoned operations manager Ethan trusted from a past turnaround, had agreed to step in and rebuild the garage from scratch. As they approached, Ethan kept his voice low. First, we identify who's truly committed. Clara nodded. I'll start with one-on-ones. People are more honest alone. Inside, the garage smelled of damp concrete and oil. Lena was already there, kneeling by a tire balancer, hands steady despite her swollen ankle. Dylan stacked tires near the lifts, moving deliberately. Two other techs, Owen and Gabe, leaned against the far wall, whispering. Ethan caught Owen's suspicious glance. Lena noticed them first, standing and wiping her hands on a clean rag. You're back, she said, voice hoarse. I said things would change, Ethan replied. This is Clara. She's here to help reset everything. Lena studied Clara, then nodded sharply and returned to work. Clara set her box on the office desk, pulling out forms, a worn laptop, and clipboards. One at a time, she said firmly. Owen, you're first. Owen pushed off the wall, glancing at Gabe, and entered the office, shoulders tense. Ethan stayed on the garage floor, noting the quieter atmosphere without Greg shouting or Nate slacking. Still, tension hung heavy. Lena struggled to lift a rim onto the balancer. Ethan stepped in. Let me help. She hesitated, then stepped aside. They lifted it together. Ethan saw her wince as she shifted weight. You should rest that ankle, he said quietly. I'll manage, Lena muttered, starting the machine. You're short-staffed. She was right. Firing Greg and Nate had left gaps. Ethan mentally noted to have Clara recruit immediately. An hour passed with steady work. Clara cycled through the techs for private talks. When Dylan emerged, his face was pale but resolute. Clara approached Ethan, adjusting her blazer. Owen is lazy, rude. Gabe's worse. Both admitted to cutting corners because no one cared. Dylan's solid but inexperienced. Lena's your cornerstone. Ethan nodded, processing. They stay. The others go. Clara agreed. Ethan approached Owen and Gabe. who were half-heartedly sorting parts. "We need to talk," he said evenly. Owen stood, feigning confidence. "What now?" "You're both done," Ethan said. "Grab your things and leave." Gabe laughed bitterly. "Figures. New boss, same nonsense." "You're out because you disrespected this company's standards," Ethan said calmly. "Your choices, not mine." They gathered their belongings sullenly and left in the rain. Ethan faced Lena and Dylan, both tense. "I know it's been rough," he said, voice carrying. "Trust must be earned, but you're not alone. We're fixing this properly." Lena glanced at Dylan, then nodded. Clara called Ethan to the office. "We need to close for a few days," she said. "Deep cleaning, equipment repairs, safety checks, restocking." Ethan hesitated. Closing meant lost revenue, but running a broken garage was worse. "Do it," he said. "Full overhaul." Clara's eyes sharpened. "And the tools?" "Every request they've made, we fulfill," Ethan said. "No more duct-taped ratchets." He announced to the team, "We're closing for 3 days. Paid time off for both of you. When you return, this place will be different." Lena's shoulders relaxed slightly. Dylan blinked, stunned. "You're serious?" he asked. "Dead serious," Ethan said. Clara handed them packets. "Fill these out. Contact info, tool requests, safety concerns. Be honest." As they completed the forms, Ethan walked the floor, mentally listing issues: cracked lifts, frayed hoses, broken jacks. Management wasn't the only failure. The garage's foundation was crumbling. Clara joined him. "Contractors for major repairs," she said. "And a new service advisor who can handle the front." "I'll handle it," Ethan said. Outside, the rain thickened. Ethan watched Lena and Dylan clock out, their faces tired but lighter. Once the garage emptied, Ethan grabbed a mop and started cleaning. Clara cataloged tools with a clipboard. They worked in comfortable silence, the sound of real progress. As Ethan scrubbed a stubborn oil stain, he thought of his father, of days when customers were family and workers were valued. He'd lost that vision, trusting the wrong people, focusing on numbers over people. Now, he was here, committed to restoring those values. Clara called out, found unopened filters stashed behind the compressor. Ethan wiped his brow. "Figures. Log everything. Nothing wasted." They worked late, rain pounding the roof. By the time Ethan locked up, the garage was cleaner, purged of its toxicity. Tomorrow, supplies and contractors would arrive, and hiring would begin. It wasn't fixed, but it was on the right path. 3 days later, the garage was transformed. Fresh white paint coated the walls, floors were scrubbed and sealed, and tool stations were organized with new equipment. The faint scent of cleaner replaced the old oil and sweat stink. Bold safety signs lined the walls, and the front office sported a new counter, clean chairs, and a coffee station. Ethan stood by the bay doors with Clara, watching a delivery van unload the final parts shipment. Lena and Dylan arrived early in crisp new uniforms Ethan had ordered. Lena adjusted her tool belt, still limping slightly, but looking more focused. Dylan moved with newfound confidence. Ethan called them over. "This garage is yours as much as mine. See something wrong, speak up. No more ignoring issues." Lena nodded. "Will you stick around? Or just visit?" "I'm not vanishing," Ethan said. "I'll check every location personally, starting here." Dylan eyed the gleaming new lifts. "Feels like a real shop now." "It is," Ethan said. "And it stays that way." Clara handed them laminated checklists. Daily inspections. Catch problems early, fix them early. As customers trickled in, Ethan stayed back, watching Lena take charge, assigning tasks by skill. Dylan handled intake forms efficiently, double-checking details. Ethan took a call from Lucas Reed, the new regional manager, who confirmed he'd visit every garage for employee interviews over the next month. As Ethan hung up, an older man approached the entrance, soaked jacket, keys in hand. Ethan held the door. "Come in." Lena greeted him warmly at the counter. "Morning. How can we help?" "My truck's making a noise when I turn," the man said, shivering. Lena noted every detail patiently. Ethan watched, a weight lifting. This was how it should always be. Challenges arose. A rusted bolt delayed a repair, but Lena offered a free loaner car. Dylan double-booked a slot, but flagged it quickly, and Lena adjusted seamlessly. By afternoon, most appointments were cleared. In the clean break room, Ethan addressed the team. "You handled today like pros, but this is just the start." Lena, arms crossed but relaxed, asked, "What's next?" "Building a team around you," Ethan said. "2 more techs, a full-time service advisor. We stay lean, prioritize quality." Dylan tapped his knee nervously. "What about the other garages?" "Same treatment," Ethan said. "No exceptions." Clara presented a binder. New employee manual, expectations, rights, procedures. Orientation next week. Lena scanned a page. "Paid sick leave," she said, surprised. "Real sick leave," Ethan said. "Get hurt or sick, you heal. No penalties." Dylan's eyes widened. "Tool allowances?" "Every year," Ethan confirmed. "No more patching broken tools." Lena closed the binder. "Feels like a real company now." "It is," Ethan said. He wasn't just fixing leaks. He was rebuilding from the ground up. That evening, Ethan and Clara reviewed customer feedback forms. Everyone praised the service, cleanliness, and professionalism, several naming Lena. Clara tapped a form. "She's a leader." "I know," Ethan said. Outside, the neon sign glowed brightly. Across the street, a diner's lights cast long shadows. Ethan reflected on the betrayal, decay, and truths he'd faced. A company wasn't a logo or profits. It was people, trust. Neglect that, and you lose it all. Lena stepped out, rubbing her hands against the cold. "You won't disappear, right?" Ethan shook his head. "Not a chance." She gave a small smile, her first real one. "Good. We're just getting started." Ethan looked at the glowing garage. "Yeah," he said softly. "We are."